My name is Marissa Kane. I am 35 years old, and what I'm about to tell you is not just a story, it's my reality, a memory carved into my bones that I can never forget. People think of an aunt as a second mother, a safe place, someone who spoils you and keeps you safe when the world feels cruel, but in my case, being an aunt became the very thing that destroyed me and then rebuilt me into something far darker. My nightmare began the day my sister passed away, leaving behind her young daughter, Lily, who became my responsibility. Everyone told me I should be proud to take her in, that blood meant family and family meant loyalty, but they didn't know what. I knew they didn't see the cracks in the world around us, the strange way the shadows moved in my house when Lily cried, the whispering voices that seemed to crawl through the walls when she called me Auntie. At first I tried to convince myself it was stress, that grief was playing tricks on me, but every night it got worse. The mirrors fogging with words I didn't write, the lights flickering as if something was breathing in the electricity, and Lily's eyes. Her eyes that sometimes didn't look like hers at all. I'll never forget the first time she looked up at me at the dinner table, her fork clutched in her tiny hand, and whispered in a voice that wasn't hers, "She chose you, you'll never leave." That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about being a guardian, this was a trap, an inheritance. Not of love but of horror, and I was caught in it. What followed would twist me, break me, and ultimately turn me into something I never imagined, because when your own bloodline becomes a curse, you have two choices: surrender to it or fight back with everything inside you, even if it means becoming a monster yourself. Stay with me until the end of this story, because what I did in revenge will make you question what family really means. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. If you want more real stories like mine, credit goes to Raheel Azure for bringing my nightmare into words. From the outside, my life looked noble. I was the grieving sister who stepped in to raise her niece, the responsible aunt who sacrificed her personal freedom to protect the child left behind. Neighbors praised me, relatives admired me, and even strangers on social media called me an inspiration, but behind my closed doors, the truth was rotting me from the inside out. Lily was no ordinary child anymore, and I knew it deep in my marrow. Sometimes she would laugh at night while sitting alone in the dark corner of her room, giggling as if someone whispered jokes only she could hear. Other times I'd find her standing in front of my sister's old photographs, her small fingers tracing the edges of the frame as she murmured in a language I didn't understand. One evening, as I prepared dinner, I heard footsteps pacing behind me, heavy and adult-like, but when I turned, it was only Lily, smiling with my sister's exact smile, one that froze me in place because my sister had been dead for months. "She's still here, Auntie," Lily whispered, tilting her head in that unnatural way. "She doesn't want you to let go." I tried therapists, priests, even child psychologists, but every time someone came near, they'd leave looking pale, unsettled, like something about Lily clung to them and followed them out the door. My own home became a cage where the walls bled shadows, and the air carried voices I couldn't shut out. And yet I couldn't abandon her, not when she was my blood, but blood I soon realized was the very poison destroying me. Because with every day that passed, Lily wasn't just changing, she was becoming. Her skin would flush ice cold for hours, her eyes would roll back when she spoke to the darkness, and more, I began to see my sister standing where Lily should be. The horror wasn't just haunting us, it was breeding inside her, and I knew then that whatever had taken my sister's life had passed into her child. And if I didn't stop it, it would take mine next. But stopping it meant breaking the bond of family, betraying everything I was raised to believe, and it meant doing something unspeakable. That was the moment I started planning revenge, not just against whatever force had cursed use, but against the very bloodline that dared use me as its vessel. The night everything began to unravel was a storm-soaked Thursday, the kind of night when the house seemed alive, groaning under the weight of rain and wind. I tucked Lily into bed, but her eyes didn't close. They glowed faintly in the dim light, watching me with something far older than a child's stare. "She says you'll betray us," Lily muttered, her voice not her own. It was layered, distorted, almost like two voices speaking at once. I froze, unable to breathe. I wanted to scream that this wasn't my sister, that this was a parasite wearing her face, but the words caught in my throat. That night I dreamt of my sister. She stood at the edge of my bed, her face soaked in blood, her mouth split open in a smile that stretched too wide. She whispered my name, Marissa, and then Lily's small body crawled up beside her, their eyes identical, glowing in the dark. When I woke up, scratches burned across my arms as if someone had clawed me in my sleep. From that moment, I stopped trying to save Lily. I started studying her. Instead, I followed her to school, watching the way other children recoiled from her presence, how teachers stumbled over their words when she stared too long. I caught her once in the backyard, Standing barefoot in the mud, whispering into the soil, minutes later, earthworms writhed up from the ground covering her hands and arms, and she only laughed, whispering to them like they were pets. My fear turned into hatred. If my sister had cursed me with this child, if Lily was nothing more than a vessel for something that should have stayed buried, then my revenge would be simple. I'd cut it out of her before it devoured me whole. I began collecting things that could hurt, not just knives or scissors, but old rituals, forbidden incantations, scraps of prayers whispered by trembling priests who refused to say more. The voices in my house grew louder, screaming at me whenever I touched the salt lines I spread across the floor or the iron nails I hammered into the walls. Lily began fighting back. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, standing outside my door, staring at me for hours, or leaving small dead animals on my bed as if they were gifts. My rage burned hotter every time I saw her mocking grin, and deep inside I knew that this wasn't just about saving myself. It was about punishing my sister for binding me to this nightmare, for forcing me into a role I never chose. I swore then that one way or another I'd end it, even if it meant ending Lily. Storm hadn't stopped for days, as if the sky itself wanted to drown the truth before it surfaced. By then the house was rotting, with whispery shadows twitching at the edges of my vision, and Lily's face had become an open wound in my mind. I decided it was time. No more waiting, no more praying for mercy from a child who was no longer human. I dragged to the basement, the place where my sister had first brought her to me years ago, swearing she was only leaving her for a week. Lily didn't fight at first. She only smiled, her small hands folded neatly like she was waiting for a game to begin. "You think you can kill me, Auntie Marissa?" she asked in that layered voice, her eyes flashing gold. "She tried to, you know, Mommy, but—" I crawled out of her anyway. My blood went cold. That was the curse, the reason my sister died screaming in childbirth. Lily was never meant to live, but whatever was inside her clawed its way into this world, wearing her skin. My sister hadn't abandoned me. She had passed the burden along. I raised the knife, my hand shaking, but Lily began to chant in a tongue that cracked the basement walls. The lights exploded, plunging us into darkness, and for a moment I felt hands, hundreds of them, pressing against my skin, dragging me down into the earth. I fought, screaming, slashing the knife wildly until warm blood sprayed across my face. When the shadows released me, Lily was on the ground, twitching, her body split open at the stomach. Something black and serpentine writhed its way out of her, shrieking like a newborn. I didn't hesitate. I drove the blade into it again and again, until silence filled the room, thick and suffocating. Lily's body lay still, her face finally peaceful, almost angelic in death. For one terrible moment I thought it was over, that I had won. But then from the far corner of the basement I heard my sister's voice, not a memory, not a ghost, her voice soft and broken. "You didn't kill it. You only gave it a new womb." My stomach dropped as I looked down at myself, at the blood soaking into my skin, at the way my stomach bulged unnaturally, as though something were crawling beneath it. The curse hadn't ended, it had chosen me. I staggered up the basement steps, feeling the thing grow inside me, my breath ragged, my vision flickering with darkness. I had wanted revenge, and I had taken it, but in doing so I had become the very monster I swore to destroy. As I locked the basement door behind me, I knew the truth. One day someone else would have to kill me, just as I had killed Lily, and maybe when they did, it would finally end. But until then, the cycle would go on, generation after generation, blood after blood, aunt after niece. My name is Marissa Kane, and this was never just my story. This curse will outlive me, and if you're hearing this, maybe it has already found you too.